So what do you, John Hancock, think starts revolutions?
Go.
That's a good question. I think it's from the government, like putting, like throwing a bunch of stuff at you, like taxes, and so when they keep doing that to their citizens will eventually not be able to take anymore, so they'll fight back. And so that is how I think revolutions are started.
Well, that's very fascinating. What do you think caused the American Revolution?
Okay, that's a very good question, but it's kind of sounds the same. But, you know, I think the cause of the American Revolution was all the taxes, because they would tax us on stuff we would need every day, like sugar, a stamp act. So that'd be like, if you ever gave someone something, you would have to pay for that. And the Town Shed Act, you'd have to house the soldiers, and the Tea Act, and that's where you have to pay for your tea, and they really liked tea, so. And the Intolerable Act, these just made the colonists angrier and angrier. So, like I said before, when you pile too much on them, they'll eventually revolt. Like the British, they accused me of unloading my ship without paying the tax, so they held my boat off so I couldn't use it, and that made a lot of people mad because I was one of the main shipping companies, and so that started a big revolt too. And that is how I think the American Revolution started.
So who were some of the major ball players in this American Revolution you speak of?
Go.
Well, there were many people involved in the American Revolution. I was even one of the main people, because I was one of the signers of the Declaration of Independence, but I was not one of the only people that did this, and there was many groups that also stood up against the Redcoats, and like the Sons of Liberty. They might have not had the most ethical ways, but they got the job done, if you know what I'm talking about.
Killing folk.
Yep. So, and, sometimes I would even start my own protests, because they held my ship captive, okay? I want my ship back. You hear that? You're hearing this. I want that. Yeah. Okay.
Wow. Now she plays.
Another great person was Paul Revere. This patriot, the silversmith, created widespread anti-British feelings amongst colonists following the British massacre by designing and mass-producing of the art, the Bloody Massacre. He was also the Knight Rider that said the Redcoats are coming. There was well, we couldn't leave out George Washington because he was our first president, and he was the general for the U.S. Army, and so he was the one that gave us strategies. He came up with this. He had spies so he could know what the British were doing, and another great man is Benjamin Franklin. Yeah. Bet you've heard of him before. He was the writer of the Declaration of Independence. He was made the Treaty of Paris while serving as Postmaster General, He created a group called the Night Riders who spread anti-British feelings and support for American Revolution. And that's good. Okay, so any more?
So how did the colonists win this revolution?
Go.
Okay. Well, I think we won because the British used to just stand in a line and just shoot. Like, we used to just sit in line and shoot at each other, which isn't very effective because then pretty much everyone dies.
And plus, they have targets on their chests, so it's pretty easy.
They have like a target on their chest that goes like right at their heart, so you just shoot at that and they're dead. You don't get back up from that. And so also that happened and they picked a couple of us off, but then we would go along the roads and we would shoot them off while they were walking around and stuff. And they had no clue what was happening because they're not trained to do that. And also, they're walking through a forest in a bright red uniform, like I said, with a target on them. So, yeah, that's good.
America.
Well, that's all the time we have tonight. Thank you, John Hancock.
And we're back with Betsy Ross. So, Betsy, what do you think causes revolutions?
Well, Bill, that's a very interesting question. Thank you for asking me. What I think causes revolutions is the governments, they put unnecessary taxes on the people. You know, taxes that don't make any sense, like the stamp taxes and the tea taxes, like taxes that are put on everyday things that everybody uses that shouldn't be taxed. I think that after a while, the taxes start building on people, and it actually turns out that they're suffering in their own country, so they can't pay for anything. They're spending all their money on taxes. They don't have, money for anything else to support themselves, so they get super stressed out, of course, and they moved away to America, and that's part of the other one. So, as I was saying before, I was rudely cut off. Thank you very much, Bill. Is that, taxes build on people of that government, and, they decide that after a while, they don't need that government, and they try to cut themselves off from that government. That's how revolutions start.
So, how do you think the American Revolution started?
Thanks for asking me that question, Bill. I feel like it has some of the same objectives as my last, about how revolutions start. Like the tea and, sugar act, like I talked about last time. Really unnecessary taxes for no reason. So the Americans decided that, hey, this government is just hurting us. We're going to go live somewhere else. So they sail all the way to America, and England is still taxing them, and they actually start taxing them harder and harder. So they're still suffering, and they left because they were suffering. And they suffered all the way to America, so that's just a ton of suffering. So what they decided to do was cut themselves off from England, and let's just say England wasn't very kind about that idea. So they decided that it would be best if they just revolted, and that started the American Revolution.
Oh.
That is very, very good stories you got here. You're touching in places. Okay, so how who are the main characters in, like, the main people that kind of helped out in the revolution?
So the main characters or players in the American Revolution were George Washington, who served 10 years as America's general in the army. He also served 2 terms as its president. Another player would be Benjamin Franklin, who was a brilliant inventor and an amazing politician who really helped us build our foundation. Thomas Jefferson, who helped with a ton of things as well. And then there's me. I didn't do a ton, but I did, create the flag. Very patriotic lady.
Okay, ready, set, go.
So, final question. What do you think were the short-term and long-term effects of the American Revolution?
So, that's a really good question, Bill. I think there were a lot more long-term effects because, we're a free country now. You know, we have our own government, and I feel like the American Revolution, like, stuff like that still happens, you know, disagreements. When we started our country, there was a ton of disagreements on how we should run it and stuff like that, and I feel like the American Revolution, you know, sparked a ton of that controversy, and there's still a ton of controversy today. Short-term effects, you know, a ton of people died. We definitely did not have a good relationship with Britain at that time, or with anyone, for that matter. And we were pretty much alone to survive. That's it. I don't know if
Well, that's all the time we have today for you, Betsy Ross. Stay tuned for our next guest. Peace.
So, Lord North, what causes revolutions?
Well, you see, I think that revolutions are caused by people, just not accepting what their government is doing, because their government is doing it for a reason, and they should just trust their government, because the government has gone through schooling and stuff. You're just a peasant that thinks, I know what's right, and you just tax me for money because you guys are greedy. And that's not true. We know what we're doing. And I think revolutions are caused by the citizens not knowing the full story behind everything. And, yeah. So, Lord North, what do you think caused the American Revolution?
The American Revolution? Idiots caused the American Revolution. They wouldn't pay their taxes. It just infuriates me. We weren't asking for much. Pay for your stamps, pay for your sugar. Idiots. We helped them get to America. You know? I think we deserve a little bit of money. We need money. Like, pay us back, you jerks. You know, lazy flipping Americans think they can do whatever they want. And also, like, the X's on our chest, that's just our uniform. It's not a target. Why do people keep saying it's a target? I think the American Revolution was caused by people who just didn't want to follow our government, and they're communists. Next question.
So, Lord North, who were the main people to you in the American Revolution?
The main people? My king, George III. Myself, Lord North. The General Bugoni, and Lord Cornwallis. All swell people, who really fought for our country, who was doing the right thing, taxing people what they deserved. They're in our government, they're in our country, so they should have to pay for things we give them. Next question.
So, Lord North, how do you think the colonists won you guys in the revolution?
Well, I don't like talking about this subject, you know, it's a touchy one. I have no clue. We had a bigger army, we had more powerful weapons, our government was stronger, our taxes were awesome, our people were pretty cool. I can't fathom it. It's awful. One of the worst events in England history. We should have won. We should have won.